Andrew Blake thought he had it all figured out. A fortune in the bank, a picture-perfect bride waiting at the altar, and a future that looked like something out of a magazine. But on the morning of his wedding, his carefully constructed world shattered when a woman from his past walked down the aisle, holding two little boys who looked exactly like him. What he didn't know was that someone close to him had been hiding the truth for years, stealing letters and silencing phone calls, making sure he never found out he was a father. Now, with his wedding in ruins and his heart torn between the life he planned and the family he never knew existed, Andrew has to decide if he's brave enough to face what he lost and fight for a second chance at the love he walked away from. If you're watching this, hit that subscribe button and tell me in the comments where you're tuning in from, because this story is about to take you on a journey you won't forget. The morning light came through the tall windows of the hotel suite in soft golden streams. Andrew Blake stood in front of the mirror, fumbling with his bow tie for the third time. His hands wouldn't stop shaking. "How you look like you're about to face a firing squad," his best man Marcus said from the leather couch behind him. Marcus held a glass of whiskey, even though it wasn't even 9 in the morning yet. Andrew forced a smile. "Just nervous. Normal wedding jitters, right?" "Right," Marcus said, but his tone suggested he didn't quite believe it. The truth was, Andrew had been feeling strange all week. Not cold feet exactly, more like a whisper in the back of his mind that wouldn't go quiet. He loved Emily. Of course he did. She was perfect, elegant, well-spoken, from a good family. His mother adored her. The wedding had been planned for a year. Everything was in place. So why did his chest feel tight? He tugged at the bow tie again and finally got it straight. His reflection stared back at him, tall, lean, with sandy brown hair that never quite stayed in place. At 30 years old, he'd built a successful tech consulting firm, owned a beautiful home in the suburbs, and was about to marry a woman everyone admired. This was everything he'd worked for. "Ready?" Marcus asked, standing up and adjusting his own tie. Andrew took a deep breath. "Yeah, let's do this." They walked down the hotel corridor toward the chapel. The venue was stunning, a historic estate with marble floors, crystal chandeliers, and gardens that looked like they belonged in a painting. 200 guests were already seated inside. The ceremony would start in 15 minutes. As they approached the chapel doors, Andrew could hear the soft murmur of conversation inside. His mother, Grace Blake, was probably already seated in the front row, wearing her pearls and her best smile. She'd been planning this day almost as much as Emily had. Andrew stopped just outside the doors, straightening his jacket one more time. That's when he heard it. A ripple of confusion moving through the crowd, voices rising slightly, then a hush that felt unnatural, like someone had pressed pause on the whole room. Marcus frowned. "What's going on?" Andrew pulled open the door just enough to peek inside. His heart stopped. Walking up the center aisle was a woman he hadn't seen in 4 years. She wore jeans and a simple blouse, her dark curls pulled back into a ponytail. She looked exactly the same. Warm brown skin, expressive eyes, and that quiet strength that had always drawn him in. Maya Carter. But she wasn't alone. She held the hands of 2 small boys, identical in every way. They had light brown skin, dark curls, and wide, curious eyes. They couldn't have been more than 3 years old, and they looked exactly like him. Andrew's breath caught in his throat. His pulse roared in his ears. Emily stood near the altar, her face frozen in shock. The officiant looked completely lost. Guests craned their necks, whispering urgently to each other. Maya stopped halfway down the aisle. Her eyes found Andrew's through the crack in the door. Even from a distance, he could see the resolve in her expression and the fear. One of the boys tugged on her hand, pointing at the flowers decorating the pews. The other one pressed close to her leg, suddenly shy in front of so many strangers. Emily's voice rang out, sharp and clear. "Who are you?" Maya didn't flinch. She kept her gaze steady, her voice calm but firm. "My name is Maya Carter. I'm sorry to interrupt, but—" She looked directly at Andrew, who now stood frozen in the doorway. "Andrew, we need to talk." The room erupted in whispers. Andrew felt like the floor had dropped out from under him. His legs moved on autopilot, carrying him down the aisle toward her. Marcus tried to grab his arm, but Andrew pulled away. "Maya!" His voice came out rough, disbelieving. "What are you—" She reached into her bag and pulled out a large manila envelope. Her hands were steady, but he could see the tension in her shoulders. She handed it to him without a word. He stared at the envelope like it might explode. "Open it," she said softly. Emily stormed down from the altar, her white dress swishing around her legs. "Andrew, what is this? Who is she?" Andrew couldn't find words. His hands shook as he broke the seal on the envelope and pulled out the papers inside. DNA test results. His eyes scanned the page, catching fragments of words. Paternity index. Probability of paternity. 99.9%. The names listed were his own, and two others, Rowan Blake Carter, River Blake Carter. He looked down at the two boys standing beside Maya. They stared back at him with open curiosity. No fear, just innocent interest in the tall man with the funny tie. One of them, Rowan maybe, held up a small toy car. "Look," he said proudly. Andrew's knees almost gave out. "I don't understand," he whispered. Maya's jaw tightened. "I tried to tell you. I sent emails, letters. I called your office 20 times. You never responded. I never—" Andrew's mind spun. "I never got anything. Maya, I swear I didn't know." Emily's voice cut through the air like a whip. "You have children? With her?" Andrew turned to face his fiancée. Her face was pale, her hands clenched into fists at her sides. "I didn't know," he said again desperately. "Emily, I swear I had no idea." "This is insane." Emily's voice cracked. She looked at Maya, then at the boys, then back at Andrew. "This is our wedding day, Andrew. Our wedding day." Maya spoke quietly, her voice steady despite the chaos. "I'm sorry. I didn't want to do this here, but I didn't have a choice anymore." She gestured to the boys. "They deserve to know their father, and you deserve to know they exist." Andrew felt like he was drowning. He looked at the paper again, at the numbers that didn't lie. 99.9%. These were his sons. His sons. The thought hit him like a freight train. Grace Blake appeared suddenly, her face twisted in fury. "This is outrageous. You can't just barge in here with some ridiculous claim." "It's not a claim," Maya interrupted, her tone firm but not disrespectful. "It's the truth. The test was done at a certified lab. You can verify it yourself if you want." Andrew finally found his voice. "Everyone, please, just give us a minute." He gently took Maya's elbow and guided her toward a side door that led to a small garden courtyard. She hesitated, then nodded. One of the twins whimpered softly, confused by all the noise and tension. "It's okay, baby," Maya murmured, smoothing Rowan's hair. "We're just going to talk for a minute." River, the braver of the two, looked up at Andrew and smiled. "Hi." Andrew's heart cracked wide open. The garden was quiet, secluded by tall hedges and flowering bushes. The sounds of the chapel, the shocked whispers, Emily's rising voice, his mother's indignant protests, faded into a distant hum. Andrew stood a few feet away from Maya, the DNA report still clutched in his hand. The boys sat on a stone bench, swinging their legs and playing with the toy car. "How?" Andrew's voice was hoarse. "How did I not know?" Maya crossed her arms, her expression guarded. "I told you. I tried. For months. I tried. I never got any emails. No letters. Nothing." She studied his face, searching for the lie, but all she saw was confusion and devastation. Her shoulders sagged slightly. "I sent the first email the day I found out I was pregnant, then another one every week for 2 months. I called your office. They said you were unavailable." Andrew ran a hand through his hair, his mind racing. "When did you find out?" 4 years ago, right after we broke up. 4 years. He'd spent 4 years building his company, dating Emily, living a life that felt complete. And all that time Maya had been raising his children alone. "Why didn't you try harder?" The question came out harsher than he meant it. "Why didn't you show up at my house, or because you made it clear you didn't want me in your life anymore?" Maya said quietly. "You ended things. You said we wanted different things. I wasn't going to force myself on you." Her voice wavered. "But I thought you had a right to know about them. I thought you'd at least respond." Andrew felt sick. He remembered the breakup, how he'd convinced himself it was for the best. Maya had been working 2 jobs, trying to finish college. He'd been drowning in his startup, stressed and short-tempered. They'd fought constantly about time, about priorities, about the future. He'd told himself they were too different, that it wouldn't work. And then he'd walked away. "I would have responded," he said, his voice breaking. "If I'd known, I would have been there. I swear to God, Maya, I would have been there." She looked at him for a long moment, and he saw the walls she'd built start to crack just a little. "Then someone kept it from you." Andrew's blood ran cold. "What? Your emails, your calls? Someone made sure you didn't get them. That's the only explanation." His mind immediately went to his mother. Grace had never approved of Maya. She'd called their relationship a distraction and unsuitable. After the breakup, she'd been visibly relieved. Had she really gone that far? Before he could process the thought, the garden door opened. Emily stepped out, still in her wedding gown, her face streaked with tears. "Andrew," she said, her voice shaking, "I need an answer. Are those boys yours?" He met her eyes and nodded slowly. "Yes." Emily flinched like he'd slapped her. "And you really didn't know?" "I didn't. I swear, Emily, I didn't know." She looked at Maya, then at the boys, then back at Andrew. For a long moment no one spoke. The only sound was the rustle of leaves in the breeze and the soft murmur of the twins playing with their toy. Finally, Emily took a shaky breath. "I believe you." Andrew's chest loosened slightly. "But I can't do this," she continued. Her voice was steadier now, resigned. "I can't marry you today. Not like this. You have a whole family you didn't know about. And Her voice broke. "I can't be part of this." "Emily, please." She held up a hand, stopping him. With trembling fingers, she slid the engagement ring off her finger and held it out to him. "I'm sorry, Andrew. I really am. But this isn't the life I signed up for." Andrew took the ring, numb. Emily turned and walked back toward the chapel, without another word. Andrew stood there, staring at the small diamond in his palm. Behind him, he heard Maya's soft intake of breath. "I'm sorry," she whispered. He turned to face her. "It's not your fault. I ruined your wedding." "No." Andrew shook his head, his voice firm despite the chaos in his chest. "You told me the truth. That's not your fault." Maya looked down at the boys, who were now chasing each other around the bench, giggling. Her expression softened in a way that made Andrew's heart ache. "They're beautiful," he said quietly. She looked up at him, surprised. "You think so? They look just like me." He laughed, but it came out choked. "I mean, they really do." "Yeah." A small smile tugged at the corner of her mouth. "I noticed." For a moment, they just stood there, two people who used to love each other, now bound together by something far bigger than either of them had imagined. "What happens now?" Andrew asked. Maya hesitated. "I don't know. I came here because I thought you should meet them, because they ask about their dad sometimes, and I didn't know what to tell them anymore." She looked at him, her eyes searching his. "But I don't expect anything from you, Andrew. If this is too much—" "It's not too much," he said quickly. "I mean, it is. It's overwhelming. But—" He looked at the boys again. River had climbed onto the bench and was waving at him. Andrew waved back and the boy beamed. "They're my sons. I want to know them." Maya's eyes filled with tears, but she blinked them back. "Okay. Can I—" Andrew swallowed hard. "Can I meet them? Properly?" She nodded. Andrew walked over to the bench and knelt down so he was at eye level with the boys. Up close, the resemblance was even more striking. They had his nose, his dimples when they smiled, his unruly hair. "Hi," he said softly. "My name is Andrew." River tilted his head. "You're tall." Andrew laughed despite everything. "Yeah, I guess I am." Rowan, the quieter one, held out the toy car. "Want to play?" Andrew's throat tightened. He took the car carefully, like it was made of glass. "Sure. I'd love to play." River climbed into his lap without hesitation, and Andrew froze, overwhelmed by the tiny weight of him, the trust in that simple gesture. Maya watched from a few feet away, her arms wrapped around herself. Her expression was unreadable, but Andrew thought he saw something soften in her eyes. For a long time they stayed like that, Andrew on the ground with his sons, Maya standing guard, and the distant sound of wedding guests leaving in confused, scattered groups. An hour later, Andrew walked Maya and the boys to her car in the parking lot. The estate was nearly empty now, just a few staff members cleaning up, and a handful of lingering guests who shot him curious looks as they passed. Maya buckled the twins into their car seats, while Andrew stood awkwardly by the driver's side door. He didn't want them to leave. He didn't know what to say to make them stay. "Can I see them again?" he asked finally. "Tomorrow?" Maya paused, her hand on the car door. She looked at him carefully, weighing something in her mind. "You really want to?" "Yes, more than anything." She studied him for another long moment, then nodded. "Okay, tomorrow. I'll text you my address. You still have my number. I never deleted it." Something about that simple admission hit him harder than anything else that day. Maya climbed into the driver's seat and started the engine. Through the window, Andrew could see River waving at him, his face pressed against the glass. Andrew waved back, his chest tight. As the car pulled away, he stood there in the empty parking lot, still wearing his wedding tuxedo, holding a DNA test and an engagement ring that no longer meant anything. His life had completely fallen apart in the span of 2 hours, And yet, as he watched Maya's car disappear down the long driveway, he felt something unexpected bloom in his chest. Hope. That night, Andrew sat alone in his apartment, still in his tuxedo pants and an undershirt. His jacket and bow tie lay crumpled on the floor. The engagement ring sat on the coffee table, glinting in the dim light. His phone buzzed. A text from Maya. My address is 427 Maple Street, Apt 3B. Come by around 10 tomorrow if you want. The boys usually have breakfast at 9, so they'll be awake and fed. Andrew typed back immediately. I'll be there. Thank you. 3 dots appeared, then disappeared, then appeared again. Don't thank me yet. This is going to be complicated. I know. Okay. See you tomorrow. Andrew set his phone down and leaned back against the couch, staring at the ceiling. Somewhere across town, Maya was probably tucking the boys into bed, reading them a story, kissing their foreheads goodnight. His sons. He still couldn't wrap his mind around it. His phone buzzed again. This time, it was his mother. Andrew, we need to talk. Call me immediately. He ignored it. For the first time in years, Andrew Blake didn't care what his mother thought. He didn't care about the scandal, the ruined wedding, the gossip that would follow. All he cared about was showing up tomorrow morning at 427 Maple Street and meeting his sons, really meeting them. He closed his eyes and, for the first time that day, allowed himself to breathe. Tomorrow everything would change. But tonight, he let himself sit with the weight of it all, the shock, the grief, the overwhelming sense of possibility. And deep down, beneath all the chaos, he felt something he hadn't felt in a long time, a reason to be better. Andrew woke up at 6 in the morning. Even though he didn't need to be at Maya's apartment until 10, he'd barely slept. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw the faces of those 2 little boys, his boys, staring up at him with innocent curiosity. He showered, changed 3 times, and ended up in jeans and a simple navy sweater. He didn't want to look too formal, too intimidating. He wanted to look like someone a 3-year-old could trust, like a dad. The word felt foreign in his mind, but he was trying it on, seeing how it fit. By 9:30, he was already in his car, driving through the city toward Maya's neighborhood. His hands gripped the steering wheel too tightly. His heart hammered against his ribs. What if the boys didn't like him? What if Maya changed her mind? What if he said something wrong, did something wrong? He pulled up in front of a modest apartment building on a tree-lined street. The building was older but well-maintained, with window boxes full of flowers and a small playground out front. Andrew parked and sat in the car for a moment, trying to calm his nerves. Then he saw them. Maya stepped out onto the 3rd-floor balcony with both boys. River was pointing at something in the sky, probably a bird, while Rowan clung to Maya's leg, still sleepy. She wore joggers and an oversized sweatshirt, her curls loose around her shoulders. She looked down and spotted Andrew's car. Their eyes met across the distance. She said something to the boys and they both looked down at him. River waved enthusiastically. Rowan just watched, cautious. Andrew waved back and got out of the car. By the time he climbed the stairs to the 3rd floor, Maya had the door open. The boys stood behind her, peeking around her legs. Hi, Andrew said, suddenly feeling like a teenager on a first date. Hi. Maya stepped aside. Come in. The apartment was small but cozy. Toys were scattered across the living room floor, blocks, stuffed animals, coloring books. The walls were covered in framed photos of the boys at different ages, and a few of Maya with a woman Andrew didn't recognize. That's my best friend, Jade, Maya said, following his gaze. She helps me out a lot. She sounds like a good friend. She is. River ran up to Andrew and grabbed his hand. Come see my trucks. Andrew looked at Maya, who nodded with a small smile. Go ahead. For the next 2 hours, Andrew sat on the living room floor playing trucks with River and carefully stacking blocks with Rowan, who was more reserved but slowly warming up to him. Maya watched from the couch, her hands wrapped around a mug of coffee. Rowan takes longer to trust people, she explained. River would befriend a lamppost if it smiled at him. Andrew laughed. They're so different. Yeah, it's wild how that happens, even with twins. At one point, River climbed into Andrew's lap and started telling him an elaborate story about a dinosaur that ate all the cookies in the world. Andrew listened like it was the most important story he'd ever heard. Maya's expression softened as she watched them. Then a knock came at the door. Maya tensed immediately. She stood and walked over, checking the peephole before opening it. An older woman stood in the hallway, wearing a cream-colored pantsuit and pearls. Her silver hair was perfectly styled, her posture rigid. Grace Blake. Andrew's stomach dropped. Mom, he said, standing up quickly. What are you doing here? Grace's gaze swept over the apartment, taking in the toys, the modest furniture, and finally landing on the two boys who had gone quiet and were now hiding behind Andrew's legs. "I came to see for myself," Grace said coolly. She looked at Maya. "You're Maya Carter." "I am." Maya's voice was calm, but Andrew could see the tension in her shoulders. Grace stepped inside without being invited. "And these are the children." "Their names are Rowan and River," Maya said firmly. Grace ignored her and looked at Andrew. "We need to talk, privately." "No," Andrew said. "Whatever you have to say, you can say it here." Grace's eyes narrowed. "Andrew, this is a family matter." "They are family," Andrew shot back. The words hung in the air, heavy and undeniable. Grace's jaw tightened. She looked at Maya again, her gaze sharp and assessing. "Did you intercept my son's emails?" Maya blinked, caught off guard. "What?" "Andrew claims he never received any messages from you. I find that difficult to believe." "Mom," Andrew said, his voice dangerous. "Don't." But Maya stepped forward, her chin lifted. "I sent over 30 emails to Andrew's personal and work addresses. I called his office 23 times. I even sent a letter to his home address. Your address, I'm guessing." She crossed her arms. "So if he didn't get them, maybe you should ask yourself why." Grace's face went pale. Andrew felt the ground shift beneath him. "Mom, did you—" "I was protecting you," Grace said quickly, her voice strained. "You were building your company. You were finally focused. I couldn't let some girl from your past derail everything you'd worked for." The room went silent. Andrew stared at his mother, unable to process what he was hearing. "You kept the letter from me. I did what I thought was best. You kept my children from me." His voice cracked. "For 3 years, Mom." 3 years? I didn't know she was pregnant when I—" Grace stopped herself, realizing what she'd just admitted. Maya's eyes filled with fury. "You intercepted my letter." Grace straightened her shoulders, defiant. "I read it, yes, and I decided it wasn't in Andrew's best interest to be involved." "That wasn't your decision to make," Andrew shouted. River started to cry. Rowan pressed his face into Andrew's leg, trembling. Maya immediately moved toward the boys, kneeling down. Hey, it's okay, everything's okay." She picked up River and held him close, then reached for Rowan's hand. "Let's go to your room for a minute, okay?" She shot Andrew a look. "Handle this," before disappearing down the hallway with both boys. Andrew turned on his mother, his hands shaking. "Get out!" "Andrew!" "Get out!" Grace's face crumpled. "I was trying to protect you." "You stole from me," Andrew said, his voice low and fierce. "You stole years from me. Years I could have spent knowing my sons, being there for them, for Maya." He pointed at the door. "Leave. Now." Grace opened her mouth to argue, then thought better of it. She straightened her purse strap and walked toward the door. But before she left, she turned back one last time. "I hope you know what you're doing," she said quietly. "I'm being their father," Andrew replied. "Something I should have been all along." Grace left without another word. Andrew stood in the middle of the living room, his chest heaving. His hands were still shaking. He felt like he might be sick. A few minutes later, Maya emerged from the hallway alone. "They're okay. Playing in their room." "I'm so sorry," Andrew said immediately. "I had no idea she—" "I know." Maya crossed her arms, leaning against the wall. "I believe you now. She had no right—" "No, she didn't." Maya's voice was steady, but her eyes were tired. "But she did it anyway." Andrew ran a hand through his hair, pacing. "I should have known something was wrong. I should have looked for you, or—" "Andrew!" Maya's voice stopped him. "You didn't know. And yeah, that sucks. But we can't go back and fix it." He looked at her, at the woman who had carried his children and raised them alone for 3 years. The woman he'd walked away from because he'd been too young and stupid to see what he had. "How do I make this right?" he asked, his voice breaking. Maya was quiet for a long time. Then she sighed. "You show up every day. You be there for them. You prove that you're not going anywhere." "I'm not," Andrew said fiercely. "I promise you, Maya, I'm not going anywhere." She studied him, and for the first time since the wedding, something in her expression shifted. Not trust, not yet, but maybe the beginning of it. "Okay," she said softly. "Then let's try." Over the next week, Andrew came to Maya's apartment every day. At first, the visits were awkward. He didn't know how to talk to 3-year-olds, didn't know what they liked or how to make them laugh. He felt clumsy and out of place. But slowly, things started to shift. He learned that River loved anything that moved, trucks, trains, animals, and that Rowan liked quiet activities, coloring, puzzles, building towers, and then carefully knocking them down. He learned that they both loved mac and cheese, hated green beans, and had a stuffed elephant named Mr. Drunk who went everywhere with them. He learned that Maya sang to them every night before bed, the same lullaby her own mother had sung to her, and he learned that being a parent wasn't about knowing everything. It was about showing up and trying, even when you felt like you had no idea what you were doing. One evening, after the boys had fallen asleep on the couch during a movie, Andrew helped Maya carry them to their bedroom. Rowan's small body was warm and heavy in his arms, his head resting against Andrew's chest. Something inside Andrew cracked wide open. After they tucked the boys in, Maya and Andrew sat in the kitchen, sharing leftover pizza in comfortable silence. "You're good with them," Maya said quietly. Andrew looked up, surprised. "I don't feel like I am." "You are." She took a sip of water. "They already trust you. That doesn't happen fast. They're amazing kids. You did an incredible job raising them." Maya's eyes softened. "Thank you. I mean it. I don't know how you did it alone." She shrugged. "You do what you have to do." Andrew set down his pizza, his expression serious. "I'm sorry I wasn't there. I know I keep saying that, but I know you are." Maya met his eyes. "And I'm sorry too." "For what?" "For assuming the worst about you, for thinking you'd ignored me on purpose." She looked down at her hands. "I was so angry for so long, and then I got scared. Scared that you wouldn't care, or that you'd try to take them from me, or—" Her voice broke. Andrew reached across the table and covered her hand with his. "I would never take them from you. Never." She looked at their joined hands, then up at his face. For a moment something passed between them, a memory of who they used to be, of the love they'd shared before everything fell apart. Then her phone buzzed, shattering the moment. Maya pulled her hand back and checked the screen. Her expression darkened. "What is it?" Andrew asked. She turned the phone toward him. It was a text from an unknown number, but the message was clear. "Be careful with my son. I'm watching." Andrew's blood ran cold. "That's my mother." "I figured. I'll talk to her." "Don't." Maya set the phone down. "She's not going to stop, Andrew. She doesn't want me in your life, and she definitely doesn't want the boys. That's not her choice." "I know." Maya rubbed her temples. "But it's going to make everything harder." Andrew wanted to argue, to promise that his mother wouldn't be a problem, but he knew Maya was right. Grace Blake didn't give up easily. Before he could respond, his own phone buzzed. He pulled it out and saw a message from Marcus. "Dude, check Instagram. There's a picture going around." Andrew's stomach sank. "What picture?" Maya looked up, alarmed. He opened Instagram and scrolled through his feed. It didn't take long to find it. Someone had posted a photo from the park yesterday. Andrew was sitting on a bench, holding both boys on his lap, while Maya stood beside him, laughing at something River had said. They looked like a family. The caption read, "Millionaire's secret family." Andrew Blake spotted with mystery woman and twin boys. Wedding called off last week. The post already had hundreds of likes and dozens of comments, most of them speculating about who Maya was and whether Andrew had been cheating on Emily. Maya leaned over to see the screen. Her face went pale. "Oh no, I'm so sorry," Andrew said immediately. "This is going to be everywhere." Maya stood up, pacing. "My co-workers are going to see this. My boss. Everyone. I'll fix it. I'll make a statement or—" "A statement?" Maya laughed bitterly. "Andrew, this isn't some PR problem you can solve with a press release. This is my life, the boys' lives." "I know, but—" "Do you?" She turned to face him, her eyes flashing. "You're used to this kind of attention. I'm not. And I don't want my sons growing up in some spotlight because their dad is rich and people love drama." Andrew stood up, his voice gentle but firm. "Then we'll keep them out of it. We'll be careful. But Maya, I'm not walking away from them. I'm not walking away from you." The words hung in the air between them. Maya's expression shifted, something vulnerable breaking through her anger. "From me?" Andrew realized what he'd said. His heart pounded. "I just mean, I want to be here for all of you." She stared at him for a long moment, her eyes searching his face. Then she nodded slowly. "Okay, but we do this on our terms. No more surprise visits from your mother. No more public outings until this blows over. And if this gets too messy, we pull back. Deal?" They stood there in the small kitchen, the air thick with unspoken things. Finally, Maya sighed. "You should probably go. It's late." Andrew nodded, even though he didn't want to leave. "I'll come by tomorrow?" "Yeah, tomorrow." As he walked to the door, Maya followed him. "Andrew?" He turned back. "Thank you," she said quietly, "for showing up, for trying." His throat tightened. "There's nowhere else I'd rather be." Something flickered in her eyes. Surprise, maybe, or hope. Then she closed the door softly behind him. Andrew stood in the hallway for a moment, staring at the closed door. Behind it were his sons, sleeping peacefully, and Maya, the woman who had loved him once and who maybe, just maybe, could learn to trust him again. He walked down the stairs and out into the cool night air. Tomorrow he'd come back, and the day after that, and the day after that, for as long as it took. Because somewhere between playing with trucks and reading bedtime stories, Andrew Blake had realized something that changed everything. He wasn't just doing this because it was the right thing to do. He was doing it because he wanted to. Because when he looked at Maya and those two little boys, he saw something he'd spent years searching for and never found. He saw home. Maya woke up to 17 text messages. She grabbed her phone from the nightstand, her heart already racing. Most of the messages were from co-workers at the cafe where she worked, asking if she was okay, if the rumors were true, if she needed anything. 3 were from Jade, each one more frantic than the last. "Girl, call me. Why didn't you tell me it went viral? I'm coming over. Don't argue." Maya groaned and scrolled through her social media. The photo from the park had spread everywhere. Local news sites had picked it up. Gossip blogs were writing entire articles speculating about Andrew's secret family. Some comments were supportive, most were cruel. Gold digger alert. She trapped him with those kids. Poor Emily dodged a bullet. Maya's hands shook as she set the phone down. She'd known this might happen, but seeing it, reading strangers' opinions about her life, her children, made her feel exposed and raw. A soft knock came at her bedroom door. "Mama?" She quickly wiped her eyes and opened the door. River stood there in his dinosaur pajamas, holding Mr. Trunk. "I'm hungry." "Okay, baby, let's get breakfast." By the time Jade arrived an hour later, Maya had fed the boys, dressed them, and was halfway through her second cup of coffee. The boys were playing in their room, their laughter drifting down the hallway. Jade burst through the door like a hurricane. She was petite but fierce, with box braids pulled into a high ponytail and an expression that said she was ready to fight someone. "Why didn't you call me?" Jade demanded, setting a bag of groceries on the counter, her version of emotional support. "It only happened last night." "Last night?" Jade pulled out her phone and showed Maya the screen. "This has 10,000 shares, Maya. 10,000. Maya's stomach turned. "I know. And Andrew? How's he handling this?" "He feels guilty. He keeps apologizing." Jade studied her friend carefully. "And how are you feeling about him?" Maya hesitated. That was the question she'd been avoiding asking herself. "I don't know," she admitted. "He's been amazing with the boys. He shows up every day. He's trying so hard." She paused. "But I'm scared, Jade." "Scared of what?" "That I'm going to let him back in and he'll leave again. Or that his family will make our lives hell. Or that this whole thing is just too complicated and messy and—" "Hey," Jade grabbed Maya's hands. "Breathe." Maya took a shaky breath. "Listen to me," Jade said firmly. "You don't have to figure everything out right now. Just take it one day at a time, and if Andrew screws up, I will personally destroy him." Maya laughed despite everything. "I know you will." "But Maya," Jade's expression softened. "I've been watching you this past week. You're lighter, happier, and the boys, they're obsessed with him." "I know. So maybe give this a real chance. Not for him, for you, for them." Before Maya could respond, another knock came at the door. Both women tensed. Jade looked through the peephole and relaxed slightly. "It's Andrew." Maya opened the door. Andrew stood there holding a bag of bagels and a cardboard tray of coffees, but his expression was serious. "We need to talk," he said. Maya's stomach dropped. "What happened?" "My mother called. She wants to meet with you officially." Jade snorted. "Absolutely not." "I told her the same thing," Andrew said quickly. "But she's not backing down. She says she wants to apologize." "And you believe her?" Jade crossed her arms. Andrew sighed. "No, but if we don't deal with this now, she's going to keep circling, and I don't want her causing more problems." Maya looked at him carefully. "What do you think I should do?" "I think you should meet with her, but only if you want to, and only if I'm there with you." River came running down the hallway and launched himself at Andrew's legs. "You're here." Andrew's expression immediately softened. He scooped River up. "Of course I'm here. Did you have breakfast?" "Mama made pancakes." "Lucky you." Rowan appeared more slowly, watching from the hallway. Andrew set River down and knelt to Rowan's level. "Hey, buddy, want to show me what you're building with your blocks?" Rowan nodded shyly and took Andrew's hand, leading him toward the bedroom. Jade watched them go, then turned to Maya. "Okay, he's good with them. I'll give him that." Maya smiled softly. "Yeah. So, are you going to meet with the dragon lady?" Maya thought about Grace Blake's cold eyes, her cutting words, the way she'd made Maya feel small and unwelcome in Andrew's apartment all those years ago. "Yes," she said finally, "but on my terms, not hers." 2 days later, Maya agreed to meet Grace at a neutral location, a quiet cafe downtown. Andrew insisted on coming, and Maya didn't argue. She dressed carefully that morning, choosing a simple blouse and jeans. She didn't want to look like she was trying too hard, but she also didn't want to give Grace any ammunition. Jade came over to watch the boys. "If she says anything out of line, you walk out. Promise me." "I promise." Andrew picked Maya up at noon. They drove in tense silence, his hands gripping the steering wheel too tightly. "You okay?" Maya asked. "I'm furious at her," Andrew admitted, "but I'm trying to stay calm. For you. You don't have to protect me." "I know, but I want to." The cafe was small and elegant, the kind of place where business people had quiet meetings. Grace was already seated at a corner table, her posture perfect, her expression unreadable. Maya's heart pounded as they approached. Grace stood when they arrived. "Maya, Andrew." "Mom." Andrew's voice was cold. They all sat down. An awkward silence settled over the table. Finally, Grace spoke. "I owe you an apology." Maya waited. "I made a decision that wasn't mine to make," Grace continued, her voice measured. "I kept information from Andrew that he had a right to know, and because of that, he missed 3 years of his son's lives." "Yes," Maya said quietly. "You did." Grace's jaw tightened slightly, but she pressed on. "I thought I was protecting him. I thought you were a distraction that would derail his future." "I wasn't a distraction," Maya said, her voice steady. "I was the woman he loved. And you decided I wasn't good enough." Grace didn't deny it. Andrew leaned forward. "If you came here to make excuses, I didn't." Grace looked directly at Maya. "I came to say I was wrong. About you. About what you meant to Andrew. About your sons." She paused. "I saw them, the day I came to your apartment. And they're beautiful. And they're his." Maya felt her throat tighten. "I'm not asking for forgiveness," Grace said. "I don't expect it. But I'm asking for a chance to be in their lives, to know my grandsons." The words hung in the air. Maya looked at Andrew, who looked just as shocked as she felt. "Why?" Maya asked. "Why now?" Grace's composure cracked just slightly. "Because I've lost my son once already. I don't want to lose him again, and I don't want to lose the chance to know those boys." Andrew stared at his mother like he didn't recognize her. Maya took a deep breath. "I appreciate the apology, I do. But trust isn't automatic, Mrs. Blake. You hurt us. You kept Andrew from his children. That's not something I can just forgive because you said sorry. I understand. If you want to be in their lives, you have to earn it. And that means respecting me, respecting Andrew's choices, and never undermining me as their mother." Grace nodded slowly. "I can do that. And no more threats," Maya added. "No more watching us or sending messages. If you have something to say, you say it to my face." "Agreed." Maya looked at Andrew. He gave her a small nod. "Your call." "Then we can try," Maya said carefully. "Slowly. But if you hurt them, or me, again, you're done. No second chances." Grace's eyes shimmered. "Thank you." They talked for another 20 minutes, laying out boundaries and expectations. It was stiff and uncomfortable, but it was a start. As they left the cafe, Andrew took Maya's hand without thinking. She didn't pull away. "You were amazing in there," he said quietly. "I meant what I said. If she steps out of line, she won't. And if she does, I'll handle it." Maya looked down at their joined hands. "When did this get so complicated?" "The moment I fell in love with you." The words came out before Andrew could stop them. Maya froze. "What?" Andrew's eyes widened. I mean, back then, when we were together, I loved you, and then I screwed it up." Maya's heart was racing. "Andrew, I'm not trying to push you," he said quickly. "I know we're not there anymore. I needed you to know." They stood on the sidewalk, people passing by on either side, the noise of the city swirling around them. "I loved you too," Maya said softly, "and it broke me when you left. I'm so sorry." "I know," she squeezed his hand, "but we're different people now. We have kids, responsibilities. This isn't just about us anymore." "I know. So we take this slow. It's okay?" Andrew nodded. "Okay." But as they walked back to the car, neither of them let go of the other's hand. Over the next week, something shifted between them. Andrew still came by every day, but now, instead of leaving right after the boys went to bed, he stayed longer. They talked more about their jobs, their families, their fears. Maya told him about the nights she'd stayed awake worrying about money, about childcare, about whether she was doing right by the boys. Andrew told her about the emptiness he'd felt after their breakup, how he'd thrown himself into work to avoid thinking about what he'd lost. One evening, they took the boys to the park. It was late afternoon, the golden light filtering through the trees. River and Rowan ran ahead, chasing each other around the playground. Andrew and Maya sat on a bench watching them. "They're happy," Maya said softly. "They are. I think it's because of you." Andrew looked at her, surprised. "You've been making them happy their whole lives." "Yeah, but now they have you too," she smiled. "They talk about you constantly. Daddy this, daddy that. It's actually kind of annoying." Andrew laughed. "I like being annoying." Maya shook her head, but she was still smiling. River ran over, out of breath. "Mama, come push me on the swing." "Okay, baby." "Daddy too." Andrew and Maya exchanged a glance, then followed River to the swings. For the next hour they pushed the boys, caught them at the bottom of the slide, and helped them climb the jungle gym. They moved together naturally, a rhythm they didn't have to think about. At one point, Maya stumbled on a loose piece of mulch. Andrew caught her arm, steadying her. Their faces were inches apart. "You okay?" he asked softly. "Yeah, thanks." Neither of them moved for a moment. Then Rowan called out, "Mama, watch me." The spell broke. Maya pulled away, her cheeks flushed. But Andrew's hand lingered on her arm for just a second longer than necessary. As the sun began to set, they loaded the boys into Maya's car. Both twins were exhausted, their eyes already drooping. Andrew walked Maya to the driver's side door. "Thank you for today," he said. "You don't have to keep thanking me." "I know, but I want to." Maya looked up at him. The fading sunlight caught in his hair, and for a moment she saw the boy she'd fallen in love with years ago, the one who made her laugh, who believed in her dreams, who made her feel like she could do anything. "Andrew—" Her phone rang, cutting her off. She glanced at the screen and frowned. "It's my boss." "Answer it, I'll wait." Maya stepped away and took the call. Andrew watched her expression change. Confusion, then shock, then anger. She hung up and turned back to him, her face pale. "What happened?" Andrew asked immediately. "Someone sent photos to my boss of us at the park with the boys." Andrew's stomach dropped. "What kind of photos?" "Us holding hands. You helping me on the playground. They made it look like—" She trailed off, her voice shaking. "My boss thinks I'm using the boys to trap you, that I'm some kind of gold digger. That's insane. He said I need to take a few days off, to let things cool down." Maya's eyes filled with tears. "Andrew, I need that job. I have rent, bills, childcare. I'll take care of it." "No," her voice was sharp. "You can't just throw money at this. Then what do you want me to do?" "I don't know." Maya pressed her hands to her face. I need space to think." Andrew felt panic rise in his chest. "Maya, please, I'm not shutting you out," she said quickly. "You can still see the boys, but I need to figure out how to fix my life without dragging you into every problem." "You're not dragging me into anything. I want to help." "I know you do, but this is exactly what I was afraid of." Her voice broke. "Your world is too big, Andrew, and mine is too small, and I don't know how to make them fit." Before Andrew could respond, River started crying in the back seat, startling himself awake. Maya wiped her eyes quickly. "I have to go." "Maya, wait. I'll call you tomorrow. I promise." She got in the car and drove away, leaving Andrew standing in the empty parking lot. He watched her taillights disappear, his chest tight with fear. He'd just gotten them back, and now he was terrified he was losing them again. That night, Andrew couldn't sleep. He kept replaying the look on Maya's face, the fear, the exhaustion, the overwhelming weight of trying to hold everything together. At 2 in the morning, he made a decision. He called Marcus. "Dude, it's 2 a.m., Marcus groaned. "I need your help." "With what?" "Finding out who's been taking those photos, and who sent them to Maya's boss." Marcus was quiet for a moment. Then he sighed. "You think it's your mom?" "I don't know, but I need to find out." "Okay, give me a day. I'll see what I can dig up." "Thanks, Marcus." "Andrew?" "Yeah? You really love her, don't you?" Andrew closed his eyes. "Yeah, I do." "Then don't give up on this." "I won't." Andrew hung up and stared at the ceiling. Somewhere across town, Maya was probably lying awake too, worrying about money and jobs, and how to protect her sons from a world that wouldn't stop judging her. And Andrew was going to fix it, whatever it took, because he'd already lost 3 years with his family. He wasn't losing them again. Maya woke up to Rowan's small hand patting her face. "Mama, I'm hungry. She opened her eyes, disoriented. Sunlight streamed through the curtains. Her phone said it was almost 9. She'd overslept. Okay, baby, give me a minute. Rowan climbed off the bed and padded out of the room. Maya sat up slowly, her head pounding. She'd barely slept, her mind spinning with worry about her job, about money, about Andrew. She'd meant what she said about needing space, but the moment she'd driven away from him last night, she'd regretted it. The look on his face, devastated, desperate, had been seared into her memory. Her phone buzzed. A text from Andrew. Good morning. Can I still come by today? I understand if you need more time, but I miss them. And you. Maya's chest tightened. She typed back quickly. Yes. Come at 11. I'll be there. She got out of bed and found both boys in the kitchen, trying to pour cereal themselves. Cheerios were scattered across the counter and floor. Oh, boys, Maya sighed. We wanted to help, River said proudly. Despite everything, Maya smiled. Okay, let's clean this up together. By the time Andrew knocked on the door at 11 sharp, the apartment was clean and the boys were dressed. Maya had changed into jeans and a soft sweater, pulling her hair back into a ponytail. When she opened the door, Andrew stood there holding a folder and looking nervous. Hi, he said. Hi. The boys came running. Daddy. Andrew scooped them both up, one in each arm, and they squealed with delight. Maya watched, her heart doing something complicated in her chest. After the boys ran off to play, Andrew set the folder on the kitchen counter. What's that? Maya asked. Information, Andrew said carefully. Marcus did some digging. The person who's been taking photos and sending them to gossip sites? It's not my mother. Maya's eyebrows rose. It's not? No. It's someone from my former business circle, a guy named Richard Chen. He's been trying to get investors to back his startup, and he thought creating drama around me would get him attention. That's insane. Yeah, Marcus found the IP addresses, the accounts he used to post the photos, everything. Andrew pushed the folder toward her. I'm going to have my lawyer send him a cease and desist. If he doesn't stop, we'll pursue legal action. Maya stared at the folder, overwhelmed. Andrew, this must have cost... I don't care what it cost. His voice was firm. No one gets to harass you and get away with it. She looked up at him, and something in her expression softened. Thank you. I also talked to my publicist. She's going to release a statement. Nothing dramatic, just clarifying that we're co-parenting and asking for privacy. It won't make everything go away, but it might help. Maya nodded slowly. What about my job? I can't fix that directly, but if you want, I can have my lawyer reach out to your boss and explain the situation. Make it clear that you're not doing anything wrong. Maya hesitated. She hated feeling helpless, hated that Andrew had to swoop in and solve her problems, but she also knew she couldn't fight this battle alone. Okay, she said quietly. Thank you. Andrew stepped closer. Maya, I know you're scared. I know this is overwhelming, but you don't have to do this by yourself anymore. I've been doing it by myself for 3 years. I know, and I hate that, but I'm here now, and I'm not going anywhere. Maya's eyes filled with tears. What if this doesn't work? What if we try and it all falls apart again? Then we'll figure it out, Andrew said gently, but we won't know unless we try. Before Maya could respond, River came running into the kitchen. Daddy, come play dinosaurs. Andrew smiled. Okay, buddy, let me just... Now. River grabbed his hand and pulled. Andrew looked at Maya, apologetic. She laughed despite herself. Go, she said. I'll make lunch. As Andrew disappeared into the living room with River, Rowan appeared beside Maya, tugging on her sweater. Mama? Yeah, baby? I like when Daddy's here. Maya's throat tightened. Me too, sweetheart. Rowan smiled and ran off to join his brother. Maya stood in the kitchen, listening to Andrew's deep voice mixing with the boys' laughter, and felt something shift inside her. Maybe Jade was right. Maybe she needed to give this a real chance. Not just for the boys, for herself. That afternoon, after lunch, Maya suggested they take the boys to the indoor playground across town. It was a weekday, so it wouldn't be crowded. Andrew agreed immediately. The playground was massive, climbing structures, slides, ball pits, and tunnels. River and Rowan ran inside like they'd been set free from prison. Maya and Andrew sat at a nearby table, keeping an eye on them. They have so much energy, Andrew marveled. Tell me about it. Sometimes I take them to the park 3 times a day just to tire them out. Andrew laughed. I don't know how you do it. You learn, Maya said. You adapt. They sat in comfortable silence for a while, watching the boys play. At one point, River climbed to the top of a structure and waved at them triumphantly. They both waved back. Maya, Andrew's voice was quiet. Yeah, I meant what I said yesterday, about falling in love with you. Maya's heart skipped. Andrew, I know we agreed to take things slow, and we will, but I need you to know that this isn't just about the boys for me. He turned to face her, his expression earnest. Being with you again, seeing who you've become, watching you with them. I'm falling for you all over again. Maya's breath caught. I'm scared. I know. You hurt me before, and I don't know if I can go through that again. I won't hurt you, Andrew said fiercely. Not again, I swear. Maya looked at him, really looked at him. She saw the sincerity in his eyes, the vulnerability he was offering her. I'm falling for you too, she admitted softly, and it terrifies me. Andrew reached across the table and took her hand. Then let's be terrified together. She laughed, a sound caught between a sob and relief. Okay. They sat there, hands joined, watching their sons play. And for the first time in years, Maya let herself hope. A week later, things started to settle. The gossip sites moved on to other stories. Maya's boss called and apologized, saying he'd overreacted. Andrew's publicist released the statement, and while there were still whispers, the worst of the storm had passed. Grace called Andrew and asked if she could visit the boys. He talked to Maya first, and after some discussion they agreed, but they set strict boundaries. Short visits, always with Andrew and Maya present, and no unsolicited advice. The first visit was awkward, but civil. Grace brought gifts for the boys, tasteful age-appropriate toys, and sat quietly while they played. She watched them with something close to wonder. They're remarkable, she told Maya before she left. Thank you, Maya said carefully. I mean it. You've raised them beautifully. It wasn't forgiveness, but it was a start. Andrew kept coming to Maya's apartment every day. They fell into a routine, breakfast together, playing with the boys, afternoon naps, dinner. He started staying later and later, helping with bath time and bedtime stories. One night, after the boys were asleep, Andrew and Maya sat on the couch together. The TV was on, but neither of them was watching it. I've been thinking, Maya said. About us. About what this is. Andrew turned to face her. What do you want it to be? Maya took a deep breath. I want to try. Really try. Not just co-parenting, but us. Andrew's face lit up. Yeah? Yeah. She smiled, nervous but certain. I'm tired of being scared, and I'm tired of pretending I don't have feelings for you. I have feelings for you too, Andrew said, his voice rough with emotion. So many feelings. Maya laughed. Good. They sat there, looking at each other, and the air between them shifted, charged, hopeful, alive. Can I kiss you? Andrew asked softly. Maya's heart raced. Yes. He leaned in slowly, giving her time to change her mind, but she didn't pull away. When his lips met hers, it was gentle and sweet and full of promise. When they finally broke apart, Maya was smiling. I miss that, she whispered. Me too. They kissed again, longer this time, and Maya felt 4 years of hurt and anger and loneliness start to melt away. They didn't rush. They sat on the couch, wrapped in each other's arms, talking quietly until midnight. They talked about their plans, their fears, what they wanted for the boys. And for the first time since Andrew had walked back into her life, Maya felt at peace. 3 weeks later, Andrew showed up at Maya's apartment early in the morning. The boys were still in their pajamas, eating cereal at the kitchen table. You're here early, Maya said, surprised. I know, I have something to ask you. Andrew looked nervous, which was unlike him. Okay? He knelt down in the living room, and Maya's heart stopped. Andrew, what are you... Wait, let me say this. He took a deep breath. Maya, these past few weeks have been the best of my life. Being with you, being with the boys, it's everything I didn't know I needed. And I know we said we'd take things slow, but I don't want to waste any more time. He pulled a small velvet box from his pocket. Maya's hands flew to her mouth. I'm not asking you to marry me tomorrow, Andrew said quickly. I'm asking you to marry me someday, when you're ready, when we're ready. He opened the box, revealing a simple, beautiful ring. I love you, Maya. I love our boys. And I want to build a life with you. A real life. No more hiding. No more fear. Just us. Tears streamed down Maya's face. River looked up from his cereal. Why is Mama crying? Rowan climbed down from his chair and walked over, concerned. Mama's sad? No, baby, Maya said, laughing through her tears. Mama's happy. She looked at Andrew, at the man who had hurt her, and then come back, who had shown up every single day, who had proven that people could change. Yes, she whispered. Andrew's face broke into the biggest smile she'd ever seen. Yes? Yes. Someday. When we're ready. He stood up and slipped the ring onto her finger. Then he pulled her into his arms and kissed her, deep and full of promise. The boys cheered, even though they didn't fully understand what was happening. "Daddy's staying?" River asked. Andrew pulled back and looked at both boys. "Yeah, buddy, Daddy's staying." Rowan climbed into Andrew's arms, and River wrapped himself around Maya's leg. They stood there, the four of them, a family that had been broken and was now healing. 3 months later, on a warm Saturday afternoon, Andrew and Maya stood in Jade's backyard. It wasn't a big wedding, just close friends and family, Jade, Marcus, Grace, and a handful of others. The boys wore matching button-up shirts and kept trying to chase butterflies instead of standing still. Maya wore a simple white dress, her curls loose around her shoulders. Andrew wore a suit but no tie, because River had declared ties too fancy. Grace sat in the front row, dabbing her eyes with a tissue. She'd spent the past 3 months slowly building a relationship with Maya and the boys. It wasn't perfect, but it was real. The ceremony was short and sweet. No grand speeches, no elaborate vows, just 2 people promising to love each other, to show up every day, to build something beautiful out of the broken pieces. When the officiant said, "You may kiss," Andrew pulled Maya close and kissed her like she was the only person in the world. The boys cheered. Jade whistled. Grace cried openly. Afterward, they had cake and danced in the grass. River and Rowan ran around, their laughter filling the air. Andrew spun Maya in a slow circle, her dress swirling around her legs. "Happy?" he asked. "So happy. Me too." As the sun began to set, painting the sky in shades of gold and pink, the 4 of them, Andrew, Maya, River, and Rowan, stood together at the edge of the yard. Andrew held River in one arm. Maya held Rowan in the other. Their free hands were linked together. "Ready to go home?" Maya asked softly. Andrew looked at her, at their boys, at the life they'd built from nothing. "Yeah," he said, "let's go home." They walked across the grass hand in hand toward the car. Behind them, their friends and family watched with smiles and tears. It hadn't been an easy journey. There had been pain and mistakes and moments when it seemed impossible. But love wasn't about perfect beginnings. It was about showing up, about choosing each other, even when it was hard, about believing that broken things could be made whole again. And as they drove away into the golden evening light, with their son singing off-key in the back seat, and their hands still joined between the seats, Andrew and Maya knew one thing for certain. They were home, not because of a house or a place, but because they had each other, and that was enough. The end.